Regardless, a place to park is fast becoming a place to start over for thousands of people there living in RVs.
Middle to lower income spectrum, there are just fewer and fewer places for them in the traditional housing market of rental homes or apartments or being able to purchase a home. So that's left people having to look at these untraditional options.
Take a closer look at this map. Every red dot represents thousands of lives uprooted, families and individuals who have lost the place they once called home. Today, 771,400 people are homeless in America, and that is a record high. In fact, it's an 18% jump from last year, fueled by the end of the eviction protections and relentless rent hikes. Even more startling, 486,000 Americans now call an RV their only home, more than twice as many as in 2021. These numbers reveal just how out of reach a stable home has become, as paychecks stay the same and housing costs soar. These aren't thrill seekers or weekend wanderers. They're families, they're veterans, they're working parents, and they're seniors who have been priced out of the American dream. Today, I'll pull back the curtain on the harsh reality of America's hidden housing crisis and reveal why so many are fighting just to stay afloat. Here's a tough truth we rarely talk about. When survival means choosing between the essentials, even hard-working people lose. Picture having to decide between keeping the lights on or buying the insulin that keeps you alive. For millions, these impossible choices are a monthly reality, locking them in a cycle that feels unbreakable.
I am homeless, living here in my car because, like a lot of Americans right now in this economy, I work full-time and I don't make enough money to afford a place to live because rent is $1,800 for a one-bedroom apartment on average, and a lot of times it's more than that. So I live here in my car and I try to make it as comfortable as possible. I'm trying to start a cleaning business so that I can save up for an RV. Hopefully by next summer is my goal to buy the RV, but this past summer has been really rough and I haven't made the progress that I would like to. And now my car is having issues. It is losing coolant. I can't find the leak and I'm having to add coolant every other day. It was like once a week or every 10 days I was having to add a little bit of coolant, but now it's every couple days. So I need to get my car into the shop as soon as possible because I rely on my car for everything. So if you'd like to help, I have a GoFundMe in my link tree. Thank you.
This man is part of the 43% of Americans who couldn't cover a $400 emergency. He works full-time, hustles to launch a cleaning business, and dreams of upgrading to an RV. He's doing everything society asks, but when your car is your bedroom, your office, and your lifeline, something as small as a coolant leak can turn your whole world upside down. The harsh reality is that poverty is expensive. If you're homeless, you pay more for parking, for laundromats, for gas station bathrooms, and fast food because you have no kitchen. The system traps people in poverty, forcing them to spend more just to survive. What's truly alarming is how close so many Americans are to the edge. For every 100 extremely low-income families, there are just 35 affordable rentals. This shortage all but guarantees that millions will face these same struggles with little hope for relief. But this crisis isn't just hitting those with the lowest incomes. Even people making six-figure salaries are feeling the impact.
I'm at a loss of words. My husband and I were trying to do some future planning, and eventually we would like to get a house again. We've been living in an RV now for 3.5 years, and we kept our first current house and have been renting it out since we've been traveling, living in the RV. But, you know, eventually I think we do want to go back to a house, and we're trying to figure out, okay, what do we realistically need to make and to move back into a house? Okay, If we were to put the minimum down payment down, which is like 5% in Maryland, on a house that's 4-bedroom, 2-bath, that's not crazy in our opinion, a 4-bedroom, 2-bath house. Most of them go for, in Maryland, that are in a decent location, safe, and kind of updated, between $550,000 to $700,000. If we put like around 5% down, the mortgage is outrageous. For instance, on a $700,000 house, your mortgage starts at $5,000 a month. How is any of this sustainable? The RV is looking better and better. At this rate, I don't think we're ever gonna move into a house because it is so unattainable and it is so unaffordable. When I bought the house that we have years ago before we were together, I got 3% rate, prices were great. I was buying that as a first-time home buyer at 24 years old, not really thinking about the future because I was like, oh, I'll just get another house. If I had known what I know now, I would have gotten the bigger house. I had no clue. How does anyone afford a $5,000 per month mortgage plus everything else in life? And just to add to this rant, it's not like my husband and I don't work. We both work full-time corporate jobs and both bring in over 6-figure salaries and each have multiple side hustles. One being an Airbnb and 2 social media. We do make money through social media. How are people affording life when we are working so hard, so long, and we really don't live outrageously? I live in an RV. Like, how? I don't know how people are affording this. I truly don't. Like, something needs to change, and I don't know how much longer and how much harder. Like, we all can keep working. This is outrageous. So, till further notice, this will be my home for a long time.
This is the part that should make us all uneasy. Here's a couple with corporate jobs, each pulling in 6-figure salaries and juggling multiple income streams. On paper, they're the picture of success, yet they're living in an RV because even they can't afford a home. If 2 people earning 6 figures can't buy a home, what hope is there for teachers making $45,000, retail workers on minimum wage, or single parents juggling 2 jobs? Our economy now produces success stories who still end up living in RVs because that's all they can manage. This couple works harder than their parents ever did and earns more, yet they feel less secure than ever. The old promise that hard work brings stability is slipping away for countless Americans. The emotional burden deepens when people are forced to spin hardship into something positive just to survive. The next story shows how some try to reframe their struggles as an adventure.
We started full-time RV life back in July, so that's how many months? 3 months. Here are some things that I love and hate about. The first thing that I love is the fact that we have the freedom to do whatever we want. We are no longer tied down to mundane tasks like mowing our grass, having to worry about our sidewalks. When is the property tax going to come in the mail? None of those things exist for us. Secondly, I love that everything is compact and just 39 foot because I've gotten rid of so many things, especially seasonal decor. I mean, it's pointless and it has saved me a lot of money. Plus, it has disciplined me in a way because now when I'm out and I'm about to make an impulse buy, I stop and think, where am I even going to put this? And then I realize, oh, I don't even need this. Third, it has brought me and my partner so much closer together. Our communication has to be on point every day, all day long. Because we are so close to each other, we've just found a way to make it work. We can easily communicate, hey, you know what? I need some space. Or, hey, you know what? Can we work on this as a team project? That is probably my favorite thing. Now let's talk about the things that I maybe don't like so much. I have to clean the block tank. And you may be thinking, why don't you just leave it open? Well, don't do that. You'll learn the hard way like we did, and I won't explain that unless you really need to know in the comments, but it is TMI. So, now I check that thing every other day. I only have to empty it like once a week. It's really not that big of a pain. It's actually very clean. I mean, I'm not getting my hands dirty. So if I had to say that was a negative thing, maybe just because of the context. Secondly, there's bugs. Girl, there are bugs. But it's okay because we spray for them. And every time I find a spider, I don't freak out anymore. I just say, okay, you are here for a purpose, but your purpose is not to be in my house. So, see ya. Last but not least, our fridge isn't as big as like a home fridge. Or let me say the freezer. The fridge is pretty okay. Honestly, none of those things are really that big of an issue. And if those are my biggest problems with living in this RV, then I find myself completely blessed. If this is a lifestyle that you've been thinking of, let me know in the comments any of your fears, any of your worries, or any questions that you have, because I'm telling you, this has changed my life, probably in the best.
Hear how she transforms trauma into adventure. When she says freedom, it means living without a permanent address. Compact living is code for giving up nearly everything she owns. Closer communication means sacrificing privacy and personal space. She even manages her own waste and calls it a minor issue because facing the truth that the system failed her would hurt too much. This is how people survive when reality becomes unbearable. They tell themselves stories that turn suffering into a choice. Underneath the upbeat language, she's really describing the loss of basic living standards that once seemed guaranteed. Yet some of the most heartbreaking stories come from those who reach out to help others while barely scraping by themselves. Let's see what that looks like in real life.
I am a single mother. I'm homeless, escaping domestic violence, and I want to show you guys something awesome. You see this beautiful bicycle right here, and this beautiful bicycle right here were purchased by a kind stranger for another friend of mine who is a single mother experiencing homelessness because she's escaping domestic violence. Her and her daughter do not have any way to get around at all and have been bouncing from shelters to hotels. I don't have much to offer myself, but I made a post in a local group just saying, hey, can anybody help with anything? Clothes were donated, meals were offered, and one person bought these two beautiful bicycles for this mom and daughter so that they can get around independently. I'm not ready to purchase cookware for my home, but I did have a little bit of extra resources to purchase some cookware for them so they can make meals in their hotel. You know, I totally understand when times are hard and we're all strapped and we all have our own things going on. I understand more than most. I just wanted to encourage you guys that it might not be as hard as you think to show up for somebody. This friend literally told me that if it weren't for me just being there for her on the phone, she probably would have had to go back. So, what can you do to help a friend in need today?
This is what true heroism looks like in America now. A single mother fleeing domestic violence with nothing spends her last dollars to buy bikes for another homeless mom and her daughter. 2 bikes and a few pots and pans become lifelines. A reminder that people step up for each other even when a $4 trillion federal budget can't house its own children. She shares something heartbreaking. Her friend was ready to go back to her abuser because being homeless with a child felt even worse than facing violence at home. When the streets are more dangerous for a mother and daughter than an abusive house, we have failed as a society in the most fundamental way. Cities pour billions into enforcement, but spare little for prevention. In some places, more than $2 billion goes to policing, while less than $10 million is set aside to prevent homelessness. The message is clear. Enforcement is prioritized over real solutions.
So here, right here is the showers. Women, men, outside. Come on, home. So the outside of the casino. And it shows the pond where we were earlier in the live. So yeah, so it's $5 showers. And laundries is quarter laundry. So you give your key. There is shower right here. I am a single mom, solo female traveler. That's right, we are homeless, and $5 shower. And it's got laundry room. First off, quarter machines.
$5 just to take a shower. This single mom pays dearly for something that should be a basic right. She works full-time, and we're told a job should guarantee a roof over your head. But with average rent at $1,800 for a one-bedroom and wages lagging far behind, it's not her fault. Making ends meet is simply out of reach. Listen to her voice. There's no shame, no self-pity, just the steady tone of survival. She's adapted to a world where casino bathrooms are her daily routine because the system leaves her with no other choice.
This is a day in the life of a 25-year-old who lives in a van with his wife. This morning, Kayla and I woke up at our campsite in Crested Butte, Colorado, and to our surprise, there were so many cows at our campsite. We got out of the van and got started on some breakfast. We used our Blue Eddy to power our electric kettle pot so we could have some oatmeal. Cracked open our yerbs and just waited for the water to boil. We poured the water into our instant oatmeal and just chilled and ate our food while enjoying the view. Then I packed things away and got my toothbrush out so I could brush my teeth, and we both freshened up quick because we needed to head to town to get a few things for another night at camp. Our first stop was the grocery store to get some snacks, water, wood, and a few other things. We put everything away and then we headed back to our camp. When we got back, we got started on some bison patties with rice for lunch because we didn't want to cook beef in front of the cows. After eating, I did dishes right away while Kayla cleaned our table and stove. We decided to get in the van and just hang out for a bit while we watched the show Wednesday. More cows came by and we got out of the van so we could get the fire going. For dinner, we just kept it easy and cooked some hot dogs. We just hung out at the fire for a few hours until it was time for bed. First, we got Kayla's toilet ready in case she needs it tonight, and then we brushed our teeth and got in the van for the rest of the night. Before getting in bed, I gave myself a baby wipe shower and wiped my whole body before getting in bed to wrap up another day of van life. Are we homeless or are we living life rent-free? You tell me.
This is what survival really looks like for young people who seem to have it all online. Behind the beautiful photos is a harsh truth. This couple has no permanent address. They can't build credit, they can't save money, or find real stability. One breakdown could leave them out on the street. But notice their resilience. They carve out joy, routine, and partnership even in the hardest moments. This isn't a story of personal failure. It's a sign of a bigger problem that forces capable people into a life on the move, rebranding survival as adventure. Now let's turn to another group facing their own battles. It's especially heartbreaking when veterans come home after serving their country only to find themselves abandoned and without support.
Lynette, you're a homeless veteran living in your car.
Yes, sir.
Oh my gosh, tell me about it.
Well, it started July of last year. I was in Compton. That's my home of record, where both my parents grew up and my grandparents are from. My grandfather is Maxie Filer, and Blundell Filer is my grandmother. And I get a lot of my background, a lot of my upbringing from my grandparents. Some people say I'm like an old soul. And so they passed away. My grandmother passed away last year in February, and my grandfather in 2011. And after they passed away, I wanted to come back to Compton just to kind of get more of my roots after getting out of the military. Well, I found that some of my beliefs and my understandings clashed with Compton and my family. I have PTSD from going to war twice. And the core of me likes structure. It likes discipline. It likes to have evidence. It likes to have understanding about things. And I realize not everybody thinks that way. So when I moved back home with my family in Compton, we got into fights and disagreements about some of my beliefs. One belief of mine is that the household should be clean. There should not be filth. Everything has a place. You can make a mess, but you have to clean up that mess. Another belief is that you can control the environment. You can control the energy. The gang activity that was happening at my grandparents' house disturbed me. My grandparents' house was never tagged with graffiti or anything like that. And when I came back to Compton last year, I saw that. So one of the disputes between me and my family was about me painting my grandparents' wall white. I have a judge, my uncle that's a judge, and he owned the house at the time, and he said, well, why did you paint the wall white? And I said, why not? Isn't it beautiful? Isn't it clean? I said, it had graffiti on there. He said, well, you don't understand because you've been away from Compton. That now will attract the gang members to come tag the house again. And I just didn't understand that. And we couldn't see eye to eye about that. So I basically kept painting the wall white till they stopped tagging it. That was a problem between me and my family. They felt I was attracting gang energy. I felt I was blocking gang energy and supporting my grandparents in a way of, you know, the old-fashioned, this is your property, no one comes on your property and just degrades it. So that was one disagreement with me and my family when I was living there. The other was, my brain went dark after seeing young people die. I really, truly believed that Marines couldn't die. From the training that I was with as a hospital corpsman, we train with Marines, and if we pass their training, we walk, talk, eat, live Marine Corps. When you do that, you believe in everything they teach you and everything you train with. And you don't believe that Marines can die. You think it's impossible. So when you go to war and you see that happen, it does something to your soul. It does something to your soul. It's not like I hadn't seen death. I had seen death in older generations, people getting sick and passing away. Working in the hospital, I saw death. But when I saw Marines die, it did something dark to my brain, something bad to my soul.
So how long have you been living in your car?
So when I told my family about smoking, that helped with my PTSD, spice, they decided that was not something they would tolerate or accept living at the household. So we agreed that I was going to use my time to find a house, find an apartment with my disability, and move out of the household because I had already gone to treatment and I had decided that this was something that was going to be helpful with me.
So you were smoking spice and that's how you ended up homeless?
That's how it happened. My family,
gosh.
I went to the hospital one night. I had gastritis because I was internalizing a lot of my stress.
Right.
I was seeing a psychologist. Psychologist said, hey, you need a better environment.
Right.
Said, it's your environment. Said, look, the spice is not good. He said, but the fact of you balancing your priorities and having structure, and you're coming in, you're talking to me about your stressors, that's what's helping you, you know, go forward. He said, get out of that household. That household it's just not good.
And your only option was the car?
Only option was a car after that. So what I did was I said, well, I have my disability. I was happy. I have my disability. I can go. I can look for apartments. I can try to find some type of temporary program. I applied for U.S. vets. They said I wasn't eligible for the care that they could, the services that they offered. I wasn't eligible. I made too much money with my disability. So I said, okay, let's try apartments. So I searched for some apartments because, mind you, I have 2 kids. And it was summertime when they had gotten through the last year of Compton, and it was summertime. And I'm using my disability, my Social Security, and I'm giving all the documents that you need to get, you know, apartment. I'm waiting on the phone call. That takes time. I get the phone call back. We didn't approve you for the apartment. Sorry, you'll get something in a minute.
Lynette's story shatters the myth that homelessness only happens to those who make bad choices. She did everything right, served her country, received a steady disability income, and applied for veteran housing programs. However, she earns too much to qualify for help, and not enough to afford rent in a city where prices have increased by 40% in just 5 years. People without stable housing often live much shorter lives than those with a roof over their heads. Lynette's struggles illustrate the challenges of finding safety and stability in today's world.
Okay. My name is Melanie, and I am homeless, currently living in a car with my service dog, who's asleep in the backseat. And I was not going to share my location specifically, but if anyone happens to be in Western Massachusetts, specifically anywhere from Amherst to Northampton, Florence, East Hampton,
Hadley, South Hadley, that area, and you happen to know of someone who has a 1-bedroom apartment available for rent, I have a housing voucher. So if you happen to know of anyone, let me know. Yeah, I'm kind of desperate because I can't use my sister's car forever. There's got to be a line to it. Yeah, I gotta find a place as soon as possible, basically. So if you know anyone in Western Mass who might happen to have a decent, preferably first floor or second floor apartment for rent, let me know. I would prefer not Holyoke and Springfield because of the high crime rates, but if I have to, I'll go there. That's not being picky, that's just my own safety. I do prefer to live somewhere rural, somewhere with access to trails close by so I can walk my dog. Other than that, I'm really not that picky. So if you know anyone, please let me know. Also, thank you to all who have helped me so far. It's so appreciated. Such a big difference. Thank you. P.S. If you want to know how you can help, leave a comment.
Here's the final blow. Melanie has a housing voucher, government assistance intended to help her off the streets, but no one will accept it. A voucher is worthless if landlords refuse it, turning government aid into a cruel joke. She's living in a borrowed car with her service dog, desperately searching for someone, anyone, who will rent to her. Even with government help, a service dog that proves her disability, and desperation in her voice, the system still lets her down. Here's the bigger, more alarming picture. Homelessness among older adults is set to triple between 2017 and 2030. We're staring down a crisis as baby boomers age into poverty. Roughly 1 in 3 people living full-time in RVs are raising children. Imagine this. Every 3 minutes, another family loses their home. That's a 26% spike in new cases, while only 8% more people are finding permanent housing. The system is failing more than it helps. This isn't just a housing problem. It's a national emergency touching millions in the wealthiest country on earth. The people in these stories are living proof that the system is failing everyday Americans, no matter how hard they work. The American dream isn't dead, but it's slipping away from those who need it most. The real issue is that housing should be a human right, not just a commodity. Until we address this issue, the crisis will only escalate. What do you think needs to change? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more real stories about what's happening to working Americans today.